I spent 5 years as Adrian's secretary, drowning under 24-hour surveillance and a brand of possessiveness that etched itself into my bones. Today, for the 101st time, I slid my resignation letter across his desk. He skimmed it, smiled, and the curve of his mouth held no warmth, only ice. Instead of feeding it to the shredder like every copy before, he unfolded his tall frame, walked to the door, and turned the lock. The crisp click sounded like a life sentence. He loosened his tie, came closer, and tore the letter to confetti in front of my eyes. "Your request is denied," he murmured, voice low, half mad. "From now on, Luna, every hour of the day belongs to me." Caldwell, that's false imprisonment. I forced myself to stay calm, but my spine was already pressed to the cold floor-to-ceiling window, nowhere left to retreat. Outside glittered the city's crown of lights, a galaxy of glass and steel that, to me, looked like a cage without bars. Adrian's shadow swallowed me whole. The familiar alpine cedar scent of him, once crisp, now felt suffocating. He braced a hand on the glass beside my ear, not quite touching me. "False imprisonment?" He gave a soft, breathy laugh that vibrated through my ribs. "Luna, after 5 years, haven't you figured it out? Everything about you, every breath, is mine. I give, you receive. What part of that is it illegal?" His fingertips grazed my cheek, ice shooting straight to my heart. "I'm done," I said through clenched teeth. "I quit. I want my own life." "Your own life?" He acted as if I'd told a cosmic joke, pupils dilating to black storm pools. "A life without me isn't a life. Tell me, do you have someone else out there?" His stare turned scalpel sharp, slicing toward any secret I might hide. "No," I shouted. "I'm exhausted. I don't want to be your secretary on call 24/7. I'm sick of clearing cilantro and scallions from every bowl of my phone holding nothing but work apps and your GPS tracker." 5 years of rage erupted in a single breath. I braced for his fury, for tighter chains. Instead, his mania ebbed, replaced by something raw, almost fragile. "I'd die without you, Luna," he rasped. The apex predator of the boardroom, the man who could shift markets with a nod, suddenly looked like a lost boy. My heart wavered, then I yanked it back. "Is this another trick? Pity as handcuffs. Drop the act." "Caldwell," I said, turning away. "It won't work. Let me go." "Act?" He echoed the word, gave a short, bitter laugh, then seized my wrist and flattened my palm over his heart. Through the bespoke shirt, his pulse hammered, frantic enough to break bone. "Feel that?" His gaze drilled into mine. "It beats for you. If you walk away, it stops." I stood frozen. Before I could recover, he towed me to a discreet panel door in the corner, pressed his thumb to the lock. It swung inward, revealing a penthouse suite more lavish than any five-star hotel. Living room, bedroom, walk-in closet, bathroom, even a kitchenette, all decorated in muted luxury. The same skyline glittered beyond an identical sheet of bulletproof glass. "Your new home," he said behind me, utterly calm. He let go of my wrist and strolled to the couch like a king surveying his realm. "You'll live here. Meals delivered on schedule. Ask for anything, someone will provide it." His gaze flicked to the coffee table. "No internet, no cell service. The only device is that tablet. Every URL you touch routes to my phone." The shiny slab might as well have been a digital shackle. My blood turned to slush. "You're insane, Adrian. This is criminal. Call it what you want." He shrugged, then gestured toward the bedroom. "Rest up. Work starts at 8. He stepped out, the hidden door sealed with a whisper, followed by the metallic thud of the outer office lock. Golden cage slammed shut. The first days, I tried everything. Pounding the door until my palms bled, screaming until my throat split, scanning every inch for signal, for gap, for weakness. Nothing. The ventilation was self-contained. I couldn't even slip out a note. At 8 each morning the panel slid open. Adrian strolled in, greeted me with that familiar time for work, and escorted me to my desk. Lunch was a silent duet, where he picked cilantro and scallions from my plate with surgical precision. Evening came, and he herded me back inside, clicked the lock, and left. Around midnight he returned, showered, slipped into bed, wrapped himself around me, and slept. Sometimes nightmares jerked him awake. He'd clutch me, whispering, "Luna, don't leave me." So vulnerable my hatred blurred into something knotted and nameless. When escape failed, I tried self-destruction, a hunger strike. Day 1, I ignored breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Adrian arrived to find every tray untouched. "Explain," he demanded. Storm clouds gathering, no appetite. I stared at the ceiling from the sofa. He scooped me up, set me at the dining table, lifted a spoon of cold congee. "Open." I pressed my lips shut. A full minute ticked by. He smiled, dangerously gentle, then speed-dialed his phone. "Uncle," he said, "the ragdoll cat's grown boring. Dispose of it cleanly." My lungs seized. Machi, my roadside rescue, housed at the Caldwell estate because Adrian hated fur on his carpets. "You wouldn't," I gasped. "Watch me." He lifted the spoon again, phone still at his ear. "I'll eat." The words exploded out, chased by tears I couldn't hide. He tapped end call, resumed feeding me like an obedient child. Smile affectionate, eyes arctic. That night I learned the taste of surrender. Cold, salty, and shameful. After the hunger strike collapsed, I turned to stone, silent, docile, hollow, work, eat, sleep, and mechanical. Adrian approved in his own twisted way, filling the walk-in closet with designer bags, couture gowns, diamonds that caught the recessed lights like tiny stars. To me they were gilded bars. Then salvation arrived in a navy suit and Texas drawl. Smith, the foreign investor. I was summoned to interpret. For the first time since imprisonment, I stood before a stranger, voice steady, professionalism shining. When the meeting ended, Smith offered a handshake and praise. I scratched 3 urgent letters into his palm, S.O.S. His pupils flickered, acknowledgement or polite confusion. My only candle in the dark. Later Adrian's mood soared. The deal had closed. "You were flawless today," he said, ruffling my hair. "Choose your reward." "I want to go home." His smile evaporated. "You are home." I thought my signal had drowned, until 2 afternoons later the office doors burst inward and uniformed officers flooded in. "We have a report of unlawful detention," the lead officer barked. My pulse rocketed. My knees nearly folded. Adrian killed his video conference without a flicker of panic. "You're mistaken, Caldwell. We received an international complaint from Smith. Please cooperate." The cop's gaze landed on me. "Ma'am, is there a problem?" I opened my mouth. "Yes." "Scream it. End this nightmare." Adrian's eyes met mine, calm, almost wounded, and spelling a single silent word. "Machi." All heat abandoned my body. "No," I heard myself answer, voice hollow. "Not me, officers. You've got it wrong. I'm Caldwell's secretary, also his fiancé. We're just having a lover's spat." The moment the word fiancé left my mouth, I saw Adrian's eyes flash, bright and sudden. The cops traded glances. Clearly this wasn't the outcome they'd expected. "Ma'am, are you absolutely certain you're staying here of your own free will? If anyone is forcing you, please trust us. We'll keep you safe." The sergeant kept trying. "I'm sure," I said. I dropped my gaze, too afraid to meet anyone's eyes. "Very sure. Sorry for the trouble." The farce ended there. When the last cruiser pulled away, the office sank into a silence thick as coffin velvet. Adrian closed the distance one deliberate step at a time, tipped my chin up, and forced me to look at him. "Fiancé?" He tasted the word, low and lazy, a playful curve lifting the corner of his mouth. "Luna, you do know how to surprise me. Isn't that what you've always wanted to hear?" A sour laugh slipped out of me. "Congratulations, you heard it." "Happy?" "No." He shook his head, the possessiveness in his pupils so dense I felt it pressing on my lungs. "Far from it. I want you to stand in front of the whole planet and say you're mine." The price of my failed escape was Adrian on lockdown overdrive. He actually announced our engagement to the press. Overnight, the invisible secretary turned into the future Caldwell, bride of the CEO who owned half of Riverdale. Headlines everywhere, financial pages, gossip blogs, primetime news, our names braided together in bold. He even staged a full-blown press conference. Under a canopy of camera flashes he crushed me against his side, the rock on my finger stabbing white light into my eyes, smiling for the lenses, gentle and besotted. He lifted our joined hands. "That's right. Luna and I are getting married soon. She is the only love of my life." Reporters hammered their shutters, every question dripping envy and confetti. "Caldwell, how did you and Luna meet? When did you realize she was the one?" "Luna, you must be over the moon to become Caldwell?" I performed like a marionette, smile stapled in place. Every answer pre-approved by Adrian. "We were college classmates. He fell for me at first sight. I'm so happy." Each syllable felt like a scalpel slicing another sliver off my heart. The moment the curtain closed, he whisked me back to my gilded cage. I bolted to the bathroom, dropped to my knees, and vomited until the world blurred. Everything came up. Breakfast, bile, the last scraps of dignity. Adrian leaned in the doorway, watching. When the heaves finally stopped, he handed me a glass of warm water and a fresh towel. "Does the idea really disgust you that much?" His tone was flat, unreadable. I rinsed, wiped my mouth, stared at the mirror, at the wreck in front and the immaculate man behind. Prisoner and turnkey. The joke wrote itself. "Adrian," I said, turning, "what exactly do you want? You already own my body, my heart. You never will." A slow smile split his face as he stepped closer. "Then I'll cage your heart too. I'll spoil you so rotten you can't live without me. You'll wake up needing me to breathe. I'll pamper pamper you into helplessness until the outside world feels worthless. He stroked my cheek, eyes fever bright. When that day comes, Luna, your heart will belong to me as well. He delivered on every threat. I was banned from the office. The hidden door stayed shut for good. I became the ragdoll cat of Skyline, exotic, pampered, utterly indoor, top nutritionists, 5-star menus, anything I might glance at twice as books, art albums, Legos, 1,000-piece puzzles, carted in to plug the hours. He even installed a private cinema in the living room and stocked it with every film I'd ever mentioned. Morning, he left for Caldwell. Day, I sat at the floor-to-ceiling window from sunrise to moonrise, watching traffic snake far below, jets rise and descend, freedom in motion, reminding myself not to sink. Evening, he came home on the dot, fed me, held me, narrated office anecdotes or read aloud like the perfect husband, tender, attentive, seamless, and every bit of it was counterfeit. Beneath the silk lay steel mesh. Once, the delivery nanny chatted 2 sentences extra. By next morning she had vanished. Another time I sighed, watching pigeons outside. Must be nice to fly. 3 days later contractors added another pane to the window. Seal tight. Not a breath of sky left. His love was a net. Exquisite and suffocating. Day after day my mind unraveled. Sleep became a rumor. I stared at the ceiling until the dark thinned. I'd jolt awake next to Adrian, heart jackhammering, unsure if the ache in my chest was hatred or something filthy and alien. That night he muttered in his sleep, Luna, don't go. Brow furrowed, sweat beading, arms cinching my ribs until they creaked. I tried to shove him off. The pain flared, but then I caught the helpless twist of his mouth. My hands froze. I grazed the crease on his forehead, smoothing it. I'm not going, I whispered, so soft I didn't recognize my own voice. Like magic, the tension bled from him. Breath evening out, grip unrelenting. I watched him till dawn. Fear and loathing strangely absent. I felt nothing clear. Luna, what the hell are you doing? Sympathy. Or have you begun to settle into the cage? The thought chilled my blood. The break came on a storm-shaken night. I overseas emergency dragged Adrian into a 3-day trip. First time he'd be gone that long. He paced the foyer, triple-checking every camera, every sensor, eyes flicking with dread. Wait for me, Luna, he murmured, crushing me so hard my spine crackled. My mind raced. Window, door, vent, any opening. The elevator swallowed him. Silence boomed. I tore through Skyline like a madwoman, fingers hunting seams, nails scraping trim. Inside his study I spotted a safe, biometric lock. My print, red light. His birthday, beep denied. Company founding day, still locked. What else? My gaze snagged on a framed photo, me on my first day at Caldwell. Awkward power suit, cherry blossoms, rookie grin, bottom corner, higher date, heart hammering. I punched in those digits. Click, swung open. No contracts, no cash, just a tiny vial of white pills and a fat stack of medical files. Name on chart, Adrian. Diagnosis, severe paranoid personality disorder with extreme emotional dependency. My hands shook so hard the pages fluttered. Page after page cataloged a life, illegitimate child. Mother lost in a dynasty war. Abandoned at 5 on orphanage steps. Never seen again. Years of bullying. Emotional fractures. Caldwell reclaimed him at 8, but home offered colder wars. Father saw a pawn. Half-brothers saw prey. He grew in a vacuum of love, anchoring every ounce of need to one target, his secretary. Luna. Patient's psychological stability is now entirely bonded to subject. Loss of subject could trigger total disintegration. Long-term medication and therapy advised. Patient refuses compliance. The unlabeled pills weren't vitamins, they were heavy-duty antipsychotics. Not a monster, just sick. A sickness that would die without me. Files scattered across the carpet. Thunder ripping the sky apart. My universe flooding sideways. Those 3 days blurred. I never touched the windows again. I read the charts until the words bled, piecing together the real man behind the obsession. The control. The terror of abandonment. Survival reflexes forged in childhood wastelands. I can't live without you wasn't romance. It was a symptom. All my hate exhaled into one long, aching sigh. Pitiful. Tragic. But what the hell did that make me? Stay and drown with him in this love-shaped oubliette. No, that isn't love. It's mutual rot. He needs me as antidote, and I'm not a prescription. I have a life. Adrian returned to wash blue skies. He pushed through the door, saw me calm on the sofa with a book, and relief sagged his shoulders. He wrapped me up from behind, face buried in my hair, inhaling like oxygen. I'm back. Luna, missed you. My body stiffened, but I didn't pull away. Adrian, I said softly, we need to talk. For the first time I wanted real conversation, not survival sparring. Surprise flicked across his face. We sat on opposite couches, coffee table between us. You know, his eyes landed on the unconcealed file.
Yeah,
I nodded. A dry laugh scratched his throat. He rubbed his temples. Tired. Saves me the act. He tipped 2 pills into his palm and swallowed them dry. When? The day you left. 3 days you could have run. But you didn't. His dark irises sparked. Its words failed. You pity me. He nailed it. I stayed silent. I don't want your pity. His voice iced over. Luna, I'm not telling you this so you'll pity me. I just need you to stay, by any means necessary. That isn't love. Adrian. I met his eyes and enunciated every word. You're sick. I'm sick? He laughed as though I'd cracked a joke. The whole world calls me a prodigy, and you're the only one who says I'm sick. Fine. Suppose I am. So what? You're my medicine. As long as you're here, I'm fine. That's not fair. My own voice hardened. Why should I sacrifice my life to be your pill? I want a life too. Marriage. Children of my own. Can you give me those? Marriage. His eyes narrowed. Aren't we getting married soon? Not like that. I almost shouted. I want a marriage built on equality and respect, not on cages and captors. I want a lover, not a warden. The air solidified between us. His face darkened by degrees, a storm regathering behind his eyes. Equality. Respect? He rose slowly, looking down at me. Luna, have I been so generous lately that you forgot your place? What I give, you accept. What I don't, you don't demand. As for a child, he bent, fingers pinching my chin, a cruel smile curving his mouth. If you want one, we'll make one. A baby to bind you to me forever. Then you'll never run again. My heart sank to the floor. I understood. He was terminal. No cure. No reasoning. Talking was useless. Freedom would have to come from me alone, and in a way he could never trace. A wild plan took shape in my mind. I began to feign submission. No more talk of leaving. No more resistance. I even initiated small kindnesses, reminding him to take his pills, asking if he'd slept. My change thrilled Adrian. His guard dropped by fractions. He let me use the tablet again, still monitored, but a window to the world. I started scripting a perfect death. I needed an opening, a public appearance I could twist into chaos. It arrived on schedule. Caldwell's annual gala, held at a 5-star hotel on the river. As his beloved fiancé, I was expected on his arm. Adrian, I murmured, curled against him, let me go with you this year. Delight lit his face. Done. I'll have them bring you the most beautiful gown. I hid my calculations against his chest. Adrian, this is the last chance you'll ever give me. I prepared obsessively. Through the tablet, I reached a tech-savvy intern I'd once helped. In code, I asked him to kill every camera near the ballroom for 15 minutes. I called Grace, my best friend who'd never stopped searching. She would wait in a car behind the hotel, engine idling at the dock. Under the pretense of learning finance, I persuaded Adrian to give me an unlimited black card. With it, I secretly hired a woman built like me to stage a fender bender outside the hotel at the critical moment. All of it moved like moontide, invisible to him. Adrian floated in the illusion I'd spun, certain he was about to possess everything. The night of the gala, I glided beside him in the scarlet gown he'd chosen. Every step a camera flash. Caldwell, perfection. Congratulations, sir, on winning your goddess. Compliments rained. Adrian basked, pride bright and primal. He paraded me before partners and rivals alike. My love, Luna. I smiled on cue, the perfect accessory on his arm. No one suspected that beneath the glitter I was plotting the grandest escape of my life. Halfway through dinner, I excused myself to the restroom. Inside a stall, I pulled out the burner phone hidden in my clutch. Go. I texted Grace, then flushed the SIM and tucked the empty shell above the ceiling tiles. Instead of returning to the ballroom, I slipped onto the riverside terrace. Wind carried the smell of water and danger. I gripped the railing, pretending to admire the view. Below, tires shrieked against asphalt. Shouts rose. My decoy had hit her mark. Guests crowded the windows. Adrian frowned and stepped toward the commotion. Now, I swung over the rail and dropped into the black water. As I fell, I screamed, sharp, short, praying it would carve itself into his memory. Sorry, Adrian. If there's a next life, love without chains. The current swallowed me, brutal and cold. I fought through it, arrowing toward the dock. Behind me rose pandemonium. Voices, whistles, a name torn raw, my name. Grace hauled me into the back seat and wrapped me in blankets. Luna, are you hurt? Drive, just drive. I shook so hard my teeth rattled. The car melted into darkness. I watched the hotel's lights shrink in the rear window. Good. Bye. Adrian, good. Bye. To 5 years of locked doors and locked skies. Morning headlines screamed, Caldwell CEO's fiancé plunges to death during engagement bash. Reports said Adrian dove after me, had to be dragged out half-drowned, then hospitalized. After 3 days searchers found only one stiletto and shreds of red silk downstream. Police stamped the file, accidental fall. Luna was officially dead. From Grace's safe house I scanned the stories. Equal parts triumph and ache. She forged a new passport, a new name, a one-way ticket to the other side of the planet. On departure day she hugged me, sobbing. Live, forget that monster, start over. I will. As the plane lifted I whispered farewell to every ghost. From today I'm nobody, and everybody. Call me Nova. I settled in Amara where spring never ends. Rented a cottage with a garden. Adopted a ragdoll cat and a golden retriever. Gone were the power suits, the war paint makeup, cotton dresses, sun hats, and barefoot walks to the sea, exactly the life I dreamed. Yet happiness stayed just out of reach. At night I remembered Adrian, the careful way he breathed when he held me, the fastidious fingers that picked every leaf of cilantro from my bowl, the way he murmured my name in his sleep. I trawled the internet for news, dangerous, irresistible. Caldwell's stock had nosedived after my death. Analysts said the CEO was incapacitated by grief, locked inside Skyline, refusing treatment, company on emergency board control. Paparazzi caught him outside the hospital, gaunt, eyes hollow, a stranger wearing the face I once loved. My chest convulsed. You're insane, Luna. He deserves every shard of pain. Yet the image refused to fade. Time, I learned, doesn't obey commands. One afternoon I fed pigeons in the plaza and saw a familiar figure, Harris, Adrian's psychiatrist. Instinct screamed run. Legs turned to stone. He stopped before me, exhausted. Luna, I've finally found you. How? He never stopped searching. Money, contacts, every scrap of the planet turned inside out. He says even if you were dead he'd find your bones. My voice shook. How is he? Broken. After you left his mind collapsed. He barricades himself in Skyline, surrounded by your clothes, replaying your photos, hallucinating your voice, your scent. If this continues he'll self-destruct. Tears blurred my sight. Do you want me to go back? No. Harris's gaze was kind. I come as a doctor, not his envoy. You own your choice. But sometimes the one who tied the bell must untie it. Whatever you decide, I'll understand. He offered his card. If you ever need news of him, or choose to act, call me. Then he turned around and walked away without a word. I stared at his retreating figure. The business card clenched so tightly in my fist that my knuckles ached. My thoughts a tangled mess. That night I dreamed. In the dream I was back inside the guilt cage. Adrian sat on the sofa, his silhouette bleak and alone. He held my red dress in his arms and kissed the hem over and over. Words tumbled from his lips, broken and raw. Luna, come back. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Come back and I'll let you go. I'll give you your freedom. Just come back. Please, don't leave me. He wept, like a child abandoned by the whole world. He sobbed until his chest heaved. I woke with a start, my face wet and ice cold. I sat up, stared at the bright moon beyond the window, and made a decision so startling it didn't feel like mine at all. I would go back. Not for him. Not out of pity. For me. To put a real end to the twisted, 5-year entanglement between us. And to give myself a genuine new beginning. I called Harris. Together we drafted a careful plan. I couldn't simply reappear. Adrian's psyche was too unstable. My sudden return might shove him past the breaking point. We needed a gradual therapeutic roadmap, and I would be the keystone. I would show up as a therapy aid, nothing more. I cut the long hair I'd kept for years into a sharp bob and hid half my face behind black-framed glasses. When I finally set foot on home soil and looked up at the familiar tower, I felt a calm I'd never known. This time I hadn't come to be caged. I'd come to break the cage. Harris led me into the Skyline. 5 years, and nothing had changed, except the air itself, thick with decay. The drapes were drawn, the living room drowned in gloom. Adrian was curled on the sofa beside the floor-to-ceiling window, right where I used to sit. He clutched a dress, the same red gown I'd worn that last night. He was skin over bone, his face paper white, stubble blue against his jaw, so fragile he looked ready to crack. He didn't turn when the door opened. He stayed frozen, a lifeless statue. Caldwell, Harris said softly, I've brought my new assistant. She'll be helping with your daily care and rehab. No answer. Harris gave me an encouraging nod. I drew a slow breath, walked over, and crouched in front of him, forcing my voice into its gentlest professional register. Caldwell, good morning. My name is Ava. Starting today, I'll be handling your daily routine and therapy exercises. His body gave the tiniest tremor at the sound of my voice. Slowly, he lifted his head. The eyes that had once been midnight were now hollow and dead. He looked straight through me. No flicker of recognition. Relief and disappointment collided inside my chest. Days blurred. I became Ava, his quiet caretaker. I coaxed him out of bed, washed his face, spoon-fed him soup. He was worse than I'd feared, an infant stripped of every survival skill. No words, no movement, no eye contact, only the red dress, crushed against his chest. Anchor and armor. Harris called it a self-protective shutdown. His mind had severed every wire that led to the fact of my death. To bring him back, we had to make him feel alive again. I read aloud the books we once shared. I played the songs we once blasted on road trips. I even tried mimicking his old boardroom humor, stumbling over stock market jokes. Nothing. Some nights I stared at the shell of him and wondered if I'd only come to torture us both. The shift arrived on an ordinary afternoon. Sunlight flooded the room. I'd yanked the curtains wide. I was reading a seaside poem when I slipped in a casual comment. I still prefer mountains, quiet, steady, the exact words I'd said to him years ago. His finger twitched, heartbeat hammering. I kept my tone level. Still, an ocean sunset can be gorgeous when the whole horizon turns liquid gold. His lashes fluttered. Back then I kept saying I'd buy a little house by the beach, adopt a cat and a golden retriever. My voice cracked. Those had been our someday dreams. He always answered, "Whatever you want, Luna." A tear splashed onto my hand. Before I could wipe it away, his icy fingers settled over mine. I looked up. Storm clouds swirled in the eyes that had been empty only seconds earlier. His lips parted, rasping the single syllable over and over. Nah. He knew. All my disguises crumbled. I started to cry, ugly, racking sobs. He tried to lift a hand to my face, too weak to manage. Instead, he simply repeated my name, as if etching it into bone. Luna. Harris slipped in with a sedative, and Adrian sank into sleep. I sat by the bed, clutching his cold fingers, weeping like the lost child I'd become. Harris squeezed my shoulder. "It's a beginning." He stepped out of his fortress. From that day Adrian re-entered the world. He let the red dress go, answered questions, swallowed pills. Words were few and hoarse, but his gaze never left me. Devastated, grateful, terrified it was only a dream. He didn't touch. He barely breathed when I was near, sketching my outline with his eyes as though memorizing months of absence. Some nights I woke to find him propped on an elbow, watching me in the moonlight, reverent and fierce. The balance had flipped. Once he'd imprisoned me, now I was the tether keeping him from drowning. Body first, mind second. When Harris suggested removing him from every trigger, I packed us off to Amara, to the little house with the jasmine-wrapped gate. He met the ragdoll cat we christened Machi and the golden retriever we named Tater. He stared at them, then at me, eyes glassy. "Luna, I'm sorry," he whispered. "I destroyed every piece of the life you wanted." "No," I said, smiling through tears. "We're collecting the pieces now." We lived like ordinary people. Saturday market, sunset walks, muddy knees in the garden. I taught him to seed basil, to dice tomatoes without mangling them, to scoop a litter box like a pro. The titan who had once swallowed companies whole now cursed a runaway zucchini. And I laughed, really laughed, until my cheeks hurt. Nightmares faded. The pillbox stayed shut. He cracked jokes, bad puns delivered with a sheepish grin. The love in his eyes was still fierce, but the chains were gone, replaced by something gentle and a little afraid. One morning he presented every bank card he owned, plus transfer papers gifting me half of Caldwell. "I thought locking you up kept you mine," he said. "Real love is the opposite. It's handing you the key and the exit. These are your freedom, your safety net. Walk away whenever you want. I won't stand in your way." I stared at the papers, throat thick. Once I'd have killed for this moment, now it terrified me. A bright spring afternoon found us on the garden swing, the sea glittering beyond the hedge. "Adrian," I began, "you're stable. The board needs its CEO." His grip on my hand tightened. "What about you?" The question cracked. I met his eyes, let the silence stretch, then smiled. "No." The light in his face dimmed. "I'm staying here," I went on, tweaking his cheek. "But you can visit any weekend. When I miss the skyline, maybe I'll come see you." He blinked. "Off balance." "Luna." What does that mean?" "It means," I said, each word steady, "I don't want to be your assistant, your captive, or your trophy wife. I want to be Luna, free, independent, choosing her own road. And I want to stand beside you as an equal and let you court me, properly, from scratch. So, Mr. CEO, how about you ask me out like I'm a girl you just met?" He stared, eyes brimming, then nodded hard, voice husky. "Yes." He folded me into his arms as though I were sunlight he could keep. And around us the roses blazed in full, wild bloom. We were both brand new, and the future, our future, was wide open.